Okay.
Okay. Brother Ogle cannot be with us this morning, but him and somebody else will be in the outreach to were available.
Oh, it's live streaming straight to me. They routed it through my phone instead of going to the laptop.
You did it just in time.
I would love it not to be me, actually. You know,
He's so easy to tear up, isn't he? It's just so, it's like so predictable.
Okay. So, praise the Lord, everyone. Forgive me, I don't have shoes.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Joshua.
What church do you attend?
Right.
What session are you teaching?
I am teaching about faith. So, to start off everything, well, my title was given State chapter. Said just reset in the last lesson is that like the thing that you need the most in your ministry and just general work in church work is faith. It is that, you know, belief that God, first of all, if God has called you to lead your church, you know, to be in the ministry God has asked you to be in, that automatically means that He's going to be with you while you do it. You know, sometimes we feel like, oh, you know, can I do this? Am I, is it this the right thing for me to do? Well, if God's already put you there, then He will enable you to do that. You know, you just have to have the faith to keep going down that road. You know, you have to keep walking down that path, because it is, the thing about the road of faith, it's a very lonely road. At least that's my experience. You know, because remember, you're like it said in the last lesson, you're the one that God has put in charge. So you're the one listening to God, you're the one hearing God. That automatically means that not everybody is listening and hearing the same way you are. And this will lead sometimes to a lot of I wouldn't say conflict, but disagreements in your friction. Yeah, I think friction's the best word in your church, because you're going to say, well, I feel, God's spoken to me and we should be going, we should be evangelizing, we should, be going out. And some people in your church will be saying, well, really, should we be doing this? We don't think that's the path, the will of God, or, the general friction, because if you're leading your church, you have that connection to God. That automatically means not everyone has that same connection. See the plan of God the way you see the plan of God. My dad was talking yesterday. Is that it's very important with faith to have examples to fall back on, testimonies. What has God? Because this is one thing I say when actually praying people through in the Holy Ghost. What has God done for you? Yeah. A lot. Yeah.
Oh, yes, good.
I was
Yes,
expecting
a
an
lot.
answer.
Yes. A lot.
But sometimes, when you're on your own and you're feeling down,
Right.
you forget that.
Right.
You forget what, the automatic reaction sometimes is, why is this happening? But in the Lord. So the way you build your faith is, first of all, you need to remember what God has done for you, what He has got you through, what He's got your church through. Because sometimes when bad things happen, we forget that, because it's an automatic human reaction. We think, you go into survival mode thinking, Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? But you have to remember, God's already got you through something. God's got your church through something. And because He's done that before, He will do that again. because he's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. So you need to remember what he's done for you. You need to either write it down, you need to make a record of it, you need to have some memory of your testimony. I mean, me and Dad have always been discussing about how we should, write a book for all the stuff that you have gone through. Oh, good. See, there we go. But you have to make a record of what God has done, because that is what will help you. Then the next thing to build your faith is you need to read your Bible, and you need to look at examples of how God got other people through, situations. One example I would turn to 1 Samuel. I'm actually doing this from memory because all my notes are actually on my phone. 1 Samuel 17.
Then said David to the Philistine, Thou come to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield. But I come to thee, and thou hast divided.
Thank you. So when we all know the story about David and Goliath. It's a very famous story. It's a very even people in the world know the story of David and Goliath. But one thing, like when I was preparing for this, I realised is that David had faith to face Goliath, because you couldn't do that if you didn't believe God was with him. But then the second thing I realised, David was alone while facing Goliath. Everybody to be around you, but that's not going to happen all the time. It's good when it happens, and your church is there to support you, but you have to understand that there will be a situation, there will be a battle that you have to face for your church, that you're going to be on your own. And then you just need to hold on to Jesus. We sing it all the time, hold on to Jesus, hold on to Jesus. But it's harder sometimes to put that into the fact that you will have to hold on to him. You will need to, even in your battle, but remember, you're not fighting because of you, you're fighting because of him. The battle is the Lord's. So he will give you the victory with, in that situation. But you will be on your own walking down that mountain. Because when the title was first given to me about On the Road of Faith, the one word that actually, I'll be honest, came to my mind was the word loneliness. Because sometimes walking down that road is a lonely affair. You're going to be on your own, and you're going to be on your own a lot of time, a lot. But this is the thing, is that you are a leader. It's something you have to get used to, because you are going to be on your own for a majority of the time. When Moses went up to the mountain to speak to God, to of Patmos. The thing is, thousands of people, worshipping God, but that doesn't try your faith, because it's easy to do it when there's thousands of people around you. It's harder to do it when you're the only person there.
So 2 angels.
But it's harder to do it when you're on your own.
Yeah.
It's I remember one of the first things when I was pastoring in Tooting and in Bristol was to do outreach on my own, especially with Tooting, because I did that after work. And I'll be honest, like it was what my dad said last night, it's literally you, God, and the devil. Because there were times I was standing and it was freezing. You remember Tooting, yeah. During the winter, I used to stand at the edge of the station door. I couldn't give tracts inside the station, but I would I would stand at the edge of the station door, because when the train would go past, the hot air would come from underground and I could stay warm at the edge. And I remember, and one thing with Tooting, we got a few people come here and there. not a lot of people came, but I know that God, you know, the work that I did there was not in vain. And that's the thing, what you have to do when you're walking in faith. You have to realize that, you know, the works that you're doing, the outreach you're doing, you know, the things, you know, the soup kitchen, all of the different ministries that God has allowed you to do, it's never in vain. Because sometimes walking on the road of faith, you think that when I gave those truths in not many situations, and in the future, I don't know, but in maybe if the Lord tarries in 50 years, there may be an apostolic minister who comes to Tutu and who sets up a church. And the groundwork was laid by the people who worked in Tutu before. Like, you know, one thing at the conference that was said about the general conference was the statement that we are standing on the shoulders of giants, being that we are reaping right now what we have not sown, but what the previous generation has sown. You know, the revival we're experiencing right now in this country, you know, and we're going to experience more in the future, was not created by us. It was created by the previous generation praying and fasting and, you know, sowing the seed and doing the prayer walks and all of these things. But guess what? Most of them were doing that on their own. There weren't people with them helping them to, you know, to do that. But now we are reaping the benefit of what, you know, what they have sown. And so I just say that because sometimes if you just focus on the road right in front of you, you're going to get slightly down, because sometimes nothing will be happening right in front of you. You know? But if you focus on the bigger picture, you look into the future where God wants you to go, that is, you know, you'll then see the bigger picture. I remember when we were, you know, pastoring together in Western. Sometimes there was only 7 of us there, but then you know, we had to. And this is another thing that you do with faith. You need to set an agenda. You need to set a vision. You know, God has given you a vision. You need to then transmit that vision. So well, every church is going to grow, but you need to say it, because remember, you are created in the image of God, and so when you speak, your words have power. So if you say, well, nothing's growing, guess what God's going to do? Your church isn't going to grow. Why? Because you don't have the faith to say it's going to grow. You need to speak your faith. You need to say, you know, this is going to grow. The ministry is going to expand. We're going to, you know, get bigger and bigger, and you know, God is going to add more as He are human, and people have doubts. But your faith needs to be larger than that doubt.
Amen.
It has to be stronger than that doubt. Otherwise, your ministry isn't going to go anywhere. Like, I feel this is a one-way street. Anyone else have anything to add?
Well, I'll just add 2 things that you're talking about. Number one is Abraham, the point you were making, where sometimes we give out tracts and do a lot, we don't see the actual fruit. Abraham did not see the fruit of the promise that God gave him. Because the Bible says, you know, that God said, I'm going to make you a great nation. You're going to have descendants like the sands of the earth. He never saw that.
Yeah.
And yet he continued to sacrifice and worship the Lord and believe it. And you know, he when he had Isaac, he thought that was going to be the son, and God said, no, you're going to have a son. This is why Sarah, and the Bible said Sarah and Abraham laughed. Actually, you read the scripture, both did, because it was a bit incredible, but they still moved in faith, you know, and they still believed it. And then we had Isaac show up. So, like you said, a lot of times you'll have people in your church who don't believe. Like, we know this. You might want to give an offering, right? And then maybe your church members or your loved one or whatever think it's wrong. And you must always remember about a vision. Visions are given to you by God, not to somebody else. So when you have a vision, if God has spoke to you and said, I want you to do this, like when I went to the conference, I want you to do that. No one else had that vision but me. And so you can't convince anyone else to believe in you, because God didn't give it to them. You just have to do it. Do you understand? It doesn't matter if they believe it or not. It doesn't matter if they support it or not. God spoke to you. Moses, take my people out. God didn't speak to the people. He spoke to Moses.
Yeah.
Moses had to go tell the people, and what did he have? A load of unbelievers who didn't believe him.
Yeah.
But God did not tell the people to go out. God told Moses to take the people out.
Amen.
And this is where a lot of people get wrong, because people, God speaks to them, then they go and ask the people for the confirmation of it. They can't confirm it because they wasn't given it. They wasn't given that, that vision or that sign. Do you understand? Nobody in Israel saw the burning bush but Moses.
Yes.
Nobody had their arm turned into leprosy but Moses. They saw the serpent because, Pharaoh saw that. Joshua, all of us are just the same. Because a prophet will stand for the Lord even when the people don't agree. You agree? Does anybody disagree with that? Jeremiah was chopped and hated. Why? Because he stood for the Lord. If you've ever watched the movie Jeremiah, when the guy turns around and says, "Is he really a prophet of the Lord?" and then the guy who's given all the advice turns around and says, "Well, there's a school of prophets here. Why didn't the Lord use one of those?" Well, the Lord couldn't use one of those. You know why? Because they all had submitted themselves to the king. Whatever the king told them to do, they would do. So God could not use them anymore because those prophets were under control by the people. And my and to others. But when the people take over, then you're already a man pleaser. You're a pleaser because you're pleasing everybody. You see, you daren't speak on that because you'll offend them. You don't want to do it because you'll offend them. You won't do that because you'll offend them. You're already a man pleaser. So, and that's why, as you say here, Joshua, faith. You've got to walk by faith. And Joshua knows this because, but he's known a time where I had nobody supporting me, did I? Even he'd get angry sometimes the way people treat me. But I did never give up. I never give up ringing the bell. We need to evangelize. We need to set up churches. Now I have people coming to me in the ministers' meeting in London and South, and then Pastor was so encouraged by you. We started a door to work because we're watching you. You see, people are watching. They're not all here clapping and saying, "Where are they?" But they're watching. See, and that goes to the lesson of witnessing. You see, you become a witness.
It is hard. I mean, I remember sometimes, especially being, your son, seeing, the thing with ministry. I don't know where this is coming from, but there are two sides to it. There's the side of the minister that you see in church, and then the side that you see at home. And I'll be honest, it feels sometimes working, seeing what some people did to Dad, it filled me with rage, because I would see how he would, the sacrifice that he would do for the Lord, and then the way he was treated by his son, and I would think, Lord, why are you letting them get away with it? But that was my own personal issue that I feel. But it is a lonely walk. It is, but it's the right thing to do. You walking in faith is the right thing to do. It will always be the right thing to do.
Always.
Because
And you were saying about how I don't care about the way people treat me because I'm walking by faith. I'm not walking for the praise of the people.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you like me or not, or hate me or treat me dirty. I don't care. And don't respect. The fact is, I have been called, and God has called me to do a job, and I'm the postman. I will deliver the message if you like the bills or not. And I will not give up preaching and shouting on the top of my voice until someone kills me. You see, because I've been called, and I've an experience with God. I've not just someone said, hello, come into the church and baptize me and you'll make a good pastor. I've had an experience. You know, oh gosh, I've seen miracles. I've seen things come alive from the dead. I've seen angels. I've seen incredible miracles in Seychelles. We've watched miracles, you know, we're stuck, we need a car, it appears out of nowhere.
Yes.
We've seen miracles.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
True,
We got a
yes.
guy wanting to, you know,
Stab
stab
me.
me, and we need to get away, and suddenly a stranger shows up. Would you like
Okay.
a ride to the airport? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can't deny all it. And this is what keeps feeding me to do all. And the enemy uses the same. He knows that will hurt.
It's true.
I walked to the house of, and it was the one that I had fellowship that lifted up the one in the church that turned against him. And so these are written as an example for us to let us know we're going to have people, when you stand for God, I mean stand for God, there'll be people in the church who will be against you. But you've got to stand. I'm still alive and breathing. I had people walk into my church and curse me. Do you remember, John? What's his name, John? What was his name? Daniel. A prophet, so-called prophet, came in, and I was having an operation the next week, and he said, thus says the Lord, you will be dead in your operation. That's what he said. So I prayed and repented if there was anything, you know, to make sure to cover myself. I'm not dumb. I'm not stupid. I repented. And in the operation table, I'm thinking about it as they're about ready to put me down, and the Lord spoke to me, and I felt this. As I'm laying here, a hand grabbed hold of me tightly. It wasn't the hand of a man, it was invisible. He said, I am with you. You see? And that's an experience I've had. So then I get people coming along telling me, I hate your preaching, I hate the way you preach, I hate you. Am I supposed to quit because some people are convicted by the word? Wait, I did to please the people. You know, Moses didn't, you know, do that. Thank God all these prophets didn't do that, because, you know, some of them stood firm, you know, and stood for the Lord. Even David, he's dancing into Jerusalem. He's on fire and excited. He's just won Jerusalem as his capital. His wife curses him from the bedroom. His wife turns around and said, you disgusting guy. Everybody saw your nakedness. He could have turned around and shut himself down. You know what he turned around and he said? It's God that put me in the place of your dad. And guess what? Guess what? I will be more disgusting. That's how you shut it down. That's how you shut it down. Do you understand? You remember where you are and who put you there.
Amen.
That reminds me of a story in Western. One time we were having a service and it came from the pulpit. I wouldn't say who. It wasn't you, Pastor Sam. But it came from the pulpit. Somebody said, oh, we are very small. You know, there are a few of us here. So I'll be honest, I wasn't in the best mood on that Sunday morning.
So what's funny?
Small insect skin. But I came up to the pulpit and I said, we need to stop saying there are few people in this church. We need to start saying this church is going to grow. And that's the thing also when it comes to faith, especially for you ministers, you need to control what is said from the pulpit, because that is what's said from the pulpit penetrates the entire church.
You're right.
And you need to shut down doubt, because if you let that kind of mentality go forth, oh, you know, we're not, you know, there's few of us here, that's going to set the agenda for the church. That, okay, you know, no, we know it, but Hebrews 11:1, it says, now faith is the substance of diligently seeking. There are a lot, you know, there are not a lot of things that are impossible with God, but it is impossible to please God. The scripture uses the word impossible to please God without faith. Let that sink in. You know, any sin can be forgiven, apart from a few extreme ones. But you know, a lot of things he can heal any sickness, but when it comes to lack of faith, it is impossible. Yeah.
I was gonna say, you know, the scripture that you just read, how he wants it to be, then that's the place where you see faith grow. Because not only your faith grows, but other people around you will see that you have faith in God to see it grow in that perspective.
I was going to add something which will be quite controversial, but I will say this, that obeying standards and going to the church and paying your tithes, faithful thieves who are faithful to all of their, do you know what I'm saying, could not see Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
They could not see the miracles that God, they saw the miracles but couldn't see it. They were spiritually blind. Because even they turned and said, are we blind also? And he said, yes, you are. And yet he'd done all the miracles in front of them, brothers and sisters. But they were still blind. Why? Because they believed that they were faithful by the ordinances. Do you understand? It was the ordinances that made them righteous. So they couldn't believe, you know. And this is the point: is we have. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against standards, and but that does not make you a man of faith.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's just some things you need to follow by. You know, just like having money doesn't make you a wise rich man, because you can just blow it all. But it's when you organize it and manage it and put it in investments, you know, and stuff like, you become a wise and a rich guy. And it's the same thing. You can follow the Bible, but if you don't believe in God, there are people who know the scriptures but don't believe they can be healed.
Yeah, that's true.
You know that because you know when you call an altar call, sometimes nobody comes.
Yeah.
And yet they all know the scriptures.
Yeah.
You should be at the altar all the time. Run into the altar. The altar should be a place that is full every service. Well, in ours, we have good altar calls, don't we? I call an altar call nearly every single week.
Yeah.
It's important to have it. Why? Because let me tell you, if you stop calling altar calls, it's difficult to reenact it again.
Yeah. You have to start.
You have to start all from the beginning again. And let me tell you one thing: if you don't have altar calls, then how can the sinner come to the Lord, who comes through the church through your evangelism?
Yeah. It's true.
You see? And so you've got, even if they, you might say, well, I don't have an altar call, there's only 2 people. It doesn't matter.
Still have it. Yeah.
Have it.
Yeah.
There was only 2 people in the Bible at the altar.
Yeah.
One a sinner and another Pharisee. Only 2.
Yeah.
Do you see? And so, and by faith, you hold these altars by faith. And by faith, you look at the chairs, and even though they're empty, like I always used to keep saying, do you remember in Victoria, and I still do it, I used to say, there's loads of people in this chairs, and they're empty. They're all angels sitting here, and one day the angel's going to get up and let someone sit there. Now the chairs are all filling up, aren't they? You know? Praise the Lord. And I know, listen, some people, Pastor, I can't believe what the Lord's doing. I can't believe what. Now they can't deny it, you see. And you might say, well, they've got to have faith. No, faith starts from the top and trickles down.
Right.
It never starts from the bottom and goes up.
You have to set the agenda.
You as the leader have to set the agenda of faith. You cannot rely on any member in your church to do it, because you are the leader, you see.
The thing is, if you don't have the faith, because sometimes they're what? Sometimes, you know, sometimes I feel as leaders, sometimes we want to hold like this mask, so to speak. And sometimes we don't want to admit to ourselves at a time that we're to get that sorted. You need to pray to God and say, Lord, I don't have faith. Because if you don't, you can't pretend to have faith. It's one of the few things you can pretend that you've read your Bible the night before, you can pretend to pray, you know. But if you don't have faith, you know, your fruits will show, you know, your ministry will show. So if you don't, it's something, I know none of you do. I'm actually really directing this to the computer, the YouTube. But if you don't, you know, it's something you just have to be honest with God. Say, God, I don't believe. Help me to believe. You know, you know, I think it was Jairus. You know, he said that, Lord, I believe, but help help my unbelief. You know, you have to be, sometimes we don't want to be that honest with God because we feel we failed God by being that honest with God. But you have to say, God, I don't believe. Sometimes help me to believe, and He will begin to work. You know, there's I was just reading through it. If you ever have a low point in your faith, read Hebrews 11, the entire chapter, because that is chronicles every major thing, you know, that's happened in the Old Testament. It said by faith Esau did this, by faith Jacob did this, by faith David. You know, renew your faith in those, because that's what the Bible is given to you to do, is to renew your faith, not only to teach you but to show you that, hey, God did it through their lives, guess what God can do through mine.
Amen.
It says, my brother,
Just you carry on.
my brethren, count it all you fall into diverse temptations. That's not only like into sins as well, you know, temptation of sin, but it's also the temptation to give up, the temptation to stop, the temptation to stop speaking faith. You know, don't see that as just, you know, because sometimes when we see the word temptation, everybody goes straight to one. You know, it can be various other things that you can be tempted to do. Knowing this, that the trying of your faith works patience, but let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. And if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given unto him. So there's a perfect example. If you don't have wisdom, if you don't have faith, if you don't have something, ask of God and He will liberally give it to you. You know, if you don't like to evangelize, say that. Say that you don't like it. I was like that. One time going halfway through tutoring, I said, Lord, I don't want to do this anymore. I really don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to go. But you have to be on, you have to, look, the scripture says that God is closer than a brother. He is your friend. I assume, I hope He is your friend.
Amen. Amen.
You sure?
Amen. Yes.
It's very quiet right
Amen.
now.
Amen. Amen.
But you know, I assume that God is your friend. God is closer than your brother. So what that means is you can talk to Him about absolutely anything. If there's something you're lacking, if you're going through a dark time, you can talk to Him about it. At the end of the day, He is the only person who can truly understand what you're going through. You know. So verse 6, it says, but let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that waver is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So the thing with faith is you can't oscillate between faith and doubt. You have to stick to faith. You have to, you know, this is why the scripture says a ship tossed to and fro, is that it doesn't have a clear direction. But while walking down, you know, the road of faith, you need to have that clear vision and that clear direction. So, you know, this is what God, I believe this is what you want to do, and this is where we're going to go. And you need to stick to that. It's hard. It's not easy, but it's what God wants you to do.
And may I say that everything that you go through is part of that road of faith.
Yeah.
So even your mistakes.
One person that, you know, to survive. Doctor says, I wish I could forget, you know, what I did. You know, that I chose my friend over a stranger to survive. And the other person said, it would be easier if you could forget that. But then it's that guilt that hopefully will stop you from doing it. You know, there's 1,000 things I wish I could have forgotten that I did. But then that doesn't serve you or help you in any way. It actually helps you in the future and also it helps you as a testimony to others. Because you can say to them, you know, God got me
then thus becomes your minister. Your mistakes minister to you.
Yeah.
You see, if you're wise enough to realize that all things, like I was when I came up here on Monday, me and Elizabeth, we went to sell some gold. We were stuck in the underground tunnel for half an hour, and when we got to Victoria, the frustration out here early to sort the caravan out to make sure, and then they meant to be is working. Well, now I can use it in this sharing.
Yeah.
You see? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so every trouble you've got, all the trouble people you have, all your bills, all of your doubts, all of these are all working in your favor if you will recognize it.
Yeah.
Even though at the time you can't recognize it. But it's all working because it's developing you as people. And that's why by faith you just have to believe it.
Yeah.
It's called.
Okay.
Well, finish anyway.
Yeah.
Has anybody got any?
I was gonna say one thing about that scripture that's got to me is it says all things work together for good. If you don't see good yet, it's still working it out for good.
Just about to
Which is the ultimate end goal.